What's up, people? We are back with more SC2VN. In the previous video, Jet for some reason thought it was a good idea that I should play a show match against Bolt. I mean, sure, I kinda agree, I need to prove myself because, you know, I am the foreign kid that came out of nowhere and essentially have no proven results to back up my supposed skill, so I kinda agree, but still, it's goddamn Bolt and we lost against him. Alright, let's continue. My older brother used to always make me watch him play games back when we were kids. This is different though. She's not watching me for fun. She's watching me to tell me how badly I suck. I brushed past another customer on my way into Go-Mart and glanced towards the register. Mr. Yun smiles in my direction, but then immediately walks into the store's back room. I don't waste time browsing and head straight for the refrigerators. By the time I'm done shopping, Mr. Yun comes out from the back room with a brown box in hand and makes his way back to the register. I set my bottles and cans down on the counter and offer the old man a nod. Sup, old man? Hello, this is all for today. In a rush, are we? Oh, not really. Why? With word that I won't run off, Mr. Yun smiles wide and hoists the box up onto the counter, pushing aside my drinks in the process. I blink, dumbfounded, but before I can ask what he's doing, he clicks open a latch and reveals a wooden board on the underside of the box's lid. He flips it up and sets the box between us in a place where a customer might expect to have their groceries rung up. A cloth sack rests beside the game board. The contents of which clack against one another and the counter. He pulls an object out of the bag and shows it to me. What? Go! Oh, I freaking played Go. Go is amazing. Have you ever played Go? Back when I was like in my early high school years, probably, I watched a shit ton of anime, and Hikaru no Go was one of the better ones that I saw, and that actually made me play Go for like a year or a year and a half or something, and I was actually pretty decent at it. I don't know why I gave it up, but yeah, probably one of those phases again where I get really into something and then for some reason just sort of kind of forget about it. I actually still have it, but Go is absolutely awesome. Maybe I should play it again. I don't know. Go, huh? It's a board game that's played mostly in Asia, held in esteem similar to chess. Without meaning to, I asked the first question on my mind. Is this because I told you about my pro gaming career? Let's just say I wouldn't be showing it to you if you didn't. We'll go over the rules and play a round, just one, and my whim will be satisfied. Alright. This is strange, but if I want to keep shopping at Go-Mart, turning down Mr. Yun will make our future interactions uncomfortable. Better for one extremely awkward game of Go than an infinite amount of semi-awkward trips to the convenience store. Mr. Yun pours the contents of the bag into a pair of wooden cups set beside the board. On closer inspection, they appear worn and scratched up. The board itself isn't in great condition either. The corners are chipped and its lacquer is long faded. Even though I've never played, I'm familiar with the premise of Go. Mr. Yun explains the basic rules thoroughly either way. The main objective is to control and capture space by surrounding your opponent's pieces. It's not unlike StarCraft in that sense, only there's no advantage in quick fingers. Even if I'm aware of the basics, I don't have the faintest clue about the game's strategy. Just go Tengen, put it in the middle. What is this supposed to accomplish? Once Mr. Yun is finished explaining the rules, he motions towards my stone. Black begins. And then white gets like a 7.5 advantage or something? I don't know. At the beginning. I forgot. Black takes the first move. You may begin when whenever you're ready. Okay. For the record, I have no idea what I'm doing here. That's alright. Just play on instinct. It's hard to hide the confusion I'm feeling, but I agree, and shuffle a handful of black stones in my direction anyway. If the point of Go is to control space, it seems like a good idea to form some sort of basic structure that I can play off later. But not 5 turns into the game, Mr. Yon begins placing his pieces dangerously close to mine. When I look up from the board, he answers me only with a smile. Soon he begins capturing my stones with relentless efficiency, never allowing me to challenge his position when I'm so focused on protecting my own. I fight back to defend my territory, but the clerk's plan is always a step ahead. I fix the board with an intense stare, certain that I can somehow unlock the intricacies of Go by demanding it of myself. When the board is halfway full, it becomes readily apparent that I'm going to lose. Mr. Yon glances up from the board with a raised eyebrow, smile ever present. Would you care to stop? I don't mean to keep you for too long. No, it's fine. Let's finish. After turning down the chance to concede, it feels appropriate that I'd somehow staged an amazing comeback, but the beatdown only continues. Towards the end of the match, Mr. Yon manages to capture more than half of my stones in a single move. My displeasure makes itself apparent with a groan. I deliver my last few turns to the board hard enough to echo a clack throughout the entire store. Mr. Yon scratches his chin casually, scanning the carnage he's wrought upon my pieces. I don't see any possible moves. I pass, and I pass too. That means the game is over, right? Yeah, you have to calculate the spaces now. I release the breath I've been holding in, relieved. I'm so glad to live in an era where video games exist. The old man replaces his Go set in the bag and box, and clears the counter of my RDOV version. Yet instead of reaching for my drinks to scan, he sets his eyes on me. You play to avoid losing. I feel a frown form on my face. Why exactly am I getting a lesson on an Eastern board game from a cashier? I don't say anything, so he continues. Specifically, you play to avoid the pain of a loss. It's clear to see when you have no learned habits or memorized strategies. There's nothing inherently wrong with playing that way, but you should be aware of the fact. I am a firm believer that games showcase personality in its purest form. Was this whole thing just an excuse to share some wisdom you couldn't think of any other way to bring up? Tch, I said that with way more disrespect than I should have. Nevertheless, Mr. Yon's slight smile doesn't falter. Perhaps, or perhaps I'm just looking for a conversation. He's a lonely old man. You didn't quit when I gave you the chance. That's good, but you can only go so far without playing for the win. StarCraft isn't so different from Go. I know that because life isn't so different from Go. Strive to win, Mach, not to lose. I don't understand. Try to. It's an important lesson. A serious glint flickers across Mr. Yon's face for a fraction of a second. When it's gone, he looks no different than before. Damn, why doesn't my store clerk teach me lessons like this? There's no one else that moves those drinks off the shelter like you. I'm incentivized to have you succeed and stick around. You see. He lets out a laugh, one that continues only until I smile politely in response. When he's done, Mr. Yon rings up my drinks and hurries them into a bag. Right, off you go. I won't ask you to play again with me, unless you'd like to. Alright. I lower my head in a bow, not the type reserved for a venerable elder, but at least one to show that I'm thankful. The door rings when I hurry through it, leaving Mr. Yon to endure the sickly linoleum of his store alone. In a roundabout way, I think Mr. Yon's little diversion might actually help. It's nice to know that he cares enough about me to offer advice, even if it's just because I shop at his store. Whether or not that business about Go and not losing is true remains to be seen. Isn't aversion to losing really that ingrained in my DNA? Go-Mart, huh? Ah, is that where the name came from? Alright, Mr. Hyun. I'll admit, that's pretty clever. It seems much darker outside than it was when I came into the store. I reached to check the time. Oh shit! I have a half dozen missed calls from Riva. Did that Go match seriously take more than an hour? An urgent need to get back to my apartment replaces my thoughts of Mr. Yun and board games. I weave through pedestrians as best as I can, while simultaneously texting an apology to Riva. My feet carry me as fast as they can. If Riva got tired of waiting in front of my door and left, I'm screwed. I pant my way up the apartment stair and halfway in the hallway to find that she isn't there. Frustrated, I sigh and force open my door. I'm dead. I'm so dead. Why didn't I keep track of time? Why now? Why when so much is on the line? As I rack my brain for an excuse I can offer Jet, I look up to find that my apartment's already occupied. You are late. She rises from her seat on my bed and points at the computer. Ladder, now. How are you in my room? The door was not locked. I let myself in when you failed to answer my calls. You just came in? Yes. The outside world is uncomfortable. I needed to get inside. My breathing calms as my panic subsides. I forgot to lock my door, huh? I guess this is better than showing up to find my computer missing. Right. Okay, sorry. I got caught up with some old guy. Here. Wow, that doesn't make it sound any better, Mach. With a rustle, I reach into the bag I'm carrying and hand the drink to Riva. Caught up? Riva takes my offering without so much as looking at it, whether or not she's actually going to drink it. I've done my due diligence as a host. Exactly, always offer a drink. Yeah, it's hard to explain. You do not need to explain your relationship with an old man, if you rather would not. Even though I'm pretty sure it's a joke, Riva doesn't smile to show it. I offer a nervous laugh and fall into my computer chair, trying to move on from the topic of my tardiness. So, right, ladder. Is there something you think I need to practice? You will want to match against Protoss players only. Quit the match if your opponent is against Terran or a Zerg. Wait, but my ranking! With a few keystrokes I display my proudly earned Grand Master badge accompanied by a rank in the double digits. If I leave 2/3 of my games tonight, I'm going to lose a bunch of ladder points. Are your ladder points really that important? Absolutely. Well... Without a word, Riva takes the mouse from me and logs out of StarCraft 2. Her fingers dance across the keyboard, and a second later we're logged into her barcode account. Her Grand Master badge, accompanying Riva's anonymous username, is ranked even higher than mine. Play on this one then. I do not care about ladder rank, and neither should you. I scratch behind my head, and have the sense to look embarrassed. She's right. It's pretty dumb for me to worry about ladder rank at a time like this. With a nod and a click, I search for my first match of the night. It takes a handful of games before I'm finally matched up against the Protoss. He's got one of those weird names and random capitalization. Riva sits just over my shoulder, from the edge of my bed, eyes fast on the monitor. Your APM is low. I wince and respond with a flurry of unnecessary keystrokes. I've never cracked 300 APM, even when I'm focused on doing so. A minute or two passes without comment, though it's hard to tell whether or not that means she thinks I'm playing well. Your engineering bays are late. Are they? They are. Damn it. I whip my mouse hard, box a pair of SCVs and slam down the 2 delayed structures. I check his army composition with a scan and decide I'm ready to challenge him. Delayed upgrades or no, I managed to keep a close enough eye on my opponent's tech that I have a massive swell of Vikings by the time his Colossus comes into play. Oh, look at them Colossus, or one Colossi. His army gets caught in an awkward position when he tries to establish his third base, allowing me to power forward into his base. It's a win I'd normally celebrate with a self-assured smile. But with Riva over my shoulder, I'm forced to feign humility in my victory. I turn towards her and motion towards the screen. Well, what do you think? She adjusts her glasses and purses her lips, taking a long moment to decide on her response. He was bad, but you capitalized on his mistake, so I have no major complaint. A good player won't let you obtain free information. Use your scans wisely. I thought I used them pretty well, didn't I? Scouting is one of the things I'm best at. Not particularly, and you should always aim to be even better. I grumble and turn to queue up another game. Yet another thing to focus on, I guess. Man, my coach is pretty harsh. But that's the only way to really improve, right? You don't want people to just be nice to you and just say, oh yeah, no, you're great, you're doing so good, when in fact you're not. I mean, you could either let people lie to you and believe that you're really good, or have people, I mean, sure, you can be good while still making mistakes, so. And if your only concern is really to just improve, then that player should only really focus on the mistakes and point them out, so I don't blame Riva. I mean, I want to be bold, right? I had thought that Riva's low-key attitude might have made her a little bit lenient with my mistakes, but she's not all that different from Jet, minus how she delivers her criticism. My next match is on the largest map in the current ladder pool. I'll have a pretty easy time defending my expansions with the way the map's choke points are constructed. Rather than poke and prod with Marines, or go for early aggression, I throw down a quick third base in a far-flung corner of the map. Shortly, I begin my natural expansion. Pulling off this kind of tactic is incredibly rewarding if it goes unscouted. I just imagine Riva like looking over my shoulder like, bro, is this really what you want to do right now? I'm practically guaranteed to win. Why are you doing that? Practice something useful. I shift my gaze aside to find Riva uncomfortably close to both me and the monitor. What if I decide to hide an expansion against Bolt? Are you going to risk the team on a coin flip? Cancel it and aim for a long game. Riva offered the advice too firm to be called a suggestion, and I find myself moving the mouse to do as instructed. This gaffe is going to set me back a fair bit. I gear up for a drawn out match by focusing on my upgrades and base defense. It's not long before my Protoss opponent and I split the map in half and are jockeying for position. Build more defenses. You can afford a dozen planetary fortresses. Is that really necessary? Mach, your opponent is Protoss. Protoss players will stop at nothing to cheat an honest turn out of an earned win. Funny, I typically image balance whiners as loud and obnoxious in real life. I wonder if she quit playing random out of guilt. Still, I oblige her and cram as many static defense structures as I can in a vital choke point. There is an observer over your army. I squint to find that she's right. Damn, how did I not catch that earlier? With a scan, I pick off the Protoss scout and reposition my units. It takes a few minutes to adjust my army composition to one that better suits the extreme late game, but I'm soon ready to clash with my opponent. Ooh, Archons. At this point, StarCraft becomes less about strategy and more about patience. It's important to know when to stalk and when to pounce. I sense an opening at last and rush into my opponent's weak flank. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see Riva tensing up, invested as much as I am in the outcome of the battle. Come on! Oh, we're getting shreked. Fuck. But try as I might, my snipes don't connect with the High Templar scattered among the Protoss army. He drowns my units in Psystorm and steamrolls down the center of the map, destroying my constructed defenses along the way. Oh my god, we're getting wrecked. I struggle pointlessly to mount a counteroffense, but the damage is done. I'm forced to tap out at GG and quit the match with a huff. He controlled his army better than you did. I spin in my chair to face Riva with a frown. If he didn't, I would have won. Oh, that was so close. Yes, it was. At least he can concede a point to my credit when it's deserved. But damn, that match took a while. As long as Go with Mr. Yun, if not longer. What time do you need to leave? Never. Are you throwing me out? What? No, I'm just saying, if you need to be home at a certain time, let me know. I do not. Okay. Let's go, next match. Sheesh. Why does talking to her feel so unnatural? This has to be intentional on her part. I need a break. Your opponents will use every wasted moment to become better than you. Breaks are dangerous. Just a short one. I'm thirsty anyway. We'll be back on the ladder with a vengeance afterwards. Thirsty. I see. My fist clenches involuntarily as I reach for a can. Nearly forcing me to knock it over, I offer Riva an exhausted look before cracking open my drink. Not to be outdone, I take a poised sip before glancing casually in her direction. So, why do you pretend to be a guy on the internet? Now it's Riva's turn to tense up. Her face contorts, eyes glazing over as if scanning her internal database for a scathing comeback. 404. Error 404. Comeback not found. I do no such thing. Details about my private life are kept just so private. Otherwise, simply assume. That's true. People just assume on the internet that you're a guy unless you have like a really girly name, and then they still kind of assume that you're a guy pretending to be a girl. Well, that's all coming to an end if we're going to be on Team Enoch, isn't it? I suppose. Excited about living in a team house? As long as it is being paid for, yes. Oh, in it for that eSports money, eh? Of course. Since primary school, I have dreamt of my own bunk bed and free cup noodles. Riva is refreshingly realistic about pro gamer life conditions. Maybe she can talk some sense into stunt. To be frank, anything is better than life back home. Oh? Trouble with your parents? No, my parents worked hard to give me the opportunities they never had, and for that, I will always be grateful. But they live far from Seoul, so I was isolated from my friends for most of my life. You mean your online friends? Yes, but now I have the chance to make my own way. I take pride in the fact that I have turned my skills into a living, no matter how meager. You should be. Most people living off of StarCraft do it with the support of a team, but you've managed on your own. You have the right to be proud. Maybe. But sometimes, even though I am happy with my accomplishments, I lack the confidence to devote more of myself to this game. Really? I wouldn't have expected to hear something like that from you. Why? I don't know. You kinda seem like the resolute type. No regrets, that sort of thing. I'm bad at putting it into words my expression of Riva, but she seems to understand what I mean by the nod she offers. You are correct that I always give my full efforts to my pursuits. However, that is not a matter of regret. Normally, I can be satisfied even in failure if I have done my best. But what if the task was not worth working towards in the first place? What do you mean? Esports is like anything else, isn't it? It's a climb to the top. It is. But StarCraft is inherently less valuable than most other things. Art, athletics, education, science, a corporate career. Currently. Right? You know what I'm saying. It's gonna come at a matter of point. Pro gaming is gonna go to the top. Okay, maybe not. But that's what I hope. That would be awesome, of course. Objectively, my time is spent better on almost anything other than pro gaming. But I do not believe I can truly distinguish myself at any of those other things. While it is possible as a pro gamer, I was born in the right country, I'm the correct age, and I have enough required talent. Even then, It is not logical for me to spend so much time and effort on what should statistically prove unrewarding, yet I cannot bring myself to turn down the chance to compete. I have the same drive, so I can at least understand that. But you really won't do something if you can't be the best at it? And the way you talk about your motivations. Do you even like StarCraft? No, I don't. What? She answers bluntly and then looks away. I have nothing to say to that. High-level StarCraft isn't always fun in the traditional sense of the word, but it sounds like Riva genuinely doesn't enjoy the game. For her to be as good as she is, with that holding her back, is hard to understand. StarCraft's greatest players have always credited their love of the game as a major factor in their success. How far can she hope to go without that advantage? With silence filling the space between us, Riva takes the opportunity to try out the drink I brought for her. On the first taste, she screws her face up and hurls to set it down, or hurries. How can you stand something so sugary? I shrug, since I don't have a good answer. It's not like I can explain why something tastes good. Where are you living, if not with your parents? Do you know what a goshiwon is? No way! Really? That's a term that showed up in one of my online lessons. If I remember correctly, it's an absurdly tiny type of apartment, literally the size of a closet with a low price to match. I live on the edge of Seoul, so the rent is inexpensive. I pay with my winnings from online tournaments. Matches on the last week of every month, if I have not yet hit my quota, can be very stressful. That has been my life since I graduated from high school. Wow. So she's technically playing tournaments and games and stuff to pay for her rent and to yeah. So it is, I mean, Mach was saying earlier that she actually does play it for a living, which she really literally does, right? That's her means of paying for everything apparently. So damn, you don't mind the lack of space? I do. I am enjoying the chance to stretch while it lasts. She demonstrates by falling back onto my bed and fully extends her legs. I shake my head and try not to laugh. It'll last. The team house will be a nice upgrade for the both of us. Riva sits up and rests her arms on her knees. Break time is over. Return to the ladder. Alright. I spin my chair back towards my computer and resume my training. The blue light from my computer monitor shines in Riva's glasses. Her advice and my grumbling all that is said between us. The matches bleed into each other, one foe falling after another. I'm in a Protoss slaying groove. I don't often find myself on winning streaks on ladder. Part of me wonders if I'm playing this well only to impress her. Riva goes quiet in the middle of a particularly intense game, leaving only the sounds of my keyboard and mouse clicks to mingle with the game sounds blasting from my headphones. I manage to prolong my win streak with a multi-pronged attack that forces my opponent to tap out. With a triumphant grin, I push off the desk and turn. She's asleep, isn't she? Boom! 3 in a... And to find that Riva has fallen asleep on duty. Well, that explains why she didn't point out that my dropships were delayed. Is it really that late? I rest my hands against my cheek. Should I wake her and tell her to go home? She looks so peaceful for me to do that in a good conscience. I can just sleep on the floor, I guess. I bunch up a hoodie from my dresser into a makeshift pillow and ease myself into the space under my desk. The ground isn't exactly comfortable, but with enough shifting around, I find myself a decent spot. And not long after, my eyelids grow heavy, and sleep claims me. It is morning. Alright, perfect time to end the video as our training session has come to an end, at least for today. Probably gonna keep continuing training right now after we've woken up, but yeah, we'll do that in the next video. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. That Go-Part was actually really fun. I was sort of expecting it when he was picking out a box and then these tiny wooden stones, like, Is that Go? But considering it's I mean, yes, it is an Asian thing, but it was primarily Japan, if I remember correctly. Not so much Korea and Chinese, or China has like a different sort of Chinese chest. I forgot what its name was, but it's sort of different. That's a little bit more popular than Go, if I remember correctly. But anyway, yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace.